Did you guys know Ho Chi Minh was actually a big fan of the United States before we epically trolled him? Yeah, that was some top 10 betrayal shit right there. While traveling as the cook's helper on a ship in 1912, Ho Chi Minh traveled to the United States. He may have lived in New York City, Harlem, and Boston. Dude, can you imagine Ho Chi Minh in fucking Harlem? I wanna see like an edgy adult comedy of Ho Chi Minh in Harlem, like getting along with like early blues musicians or some shit, dude. That would be so fucking, and like the bit would be that every once in a while, like one of the musicians or something would say something like vaguely interpretable to one of the horrible things Ho Chi Minh would later do, and Ho Chi Minh would go, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Like what? Like one of the musicians would say something like, I I hate the people in this town. If I could just be first chairman of the government and then have one in every 1,000 people killed for no reason and have their corpses dragged to a ditch, I would, you know. Honestly, Ho Chi Minh's one of the better ones when it comes to like the so-called socialist revolutionaries, really. Of all the duders who are like ML aligned, Sankara probably is my favorite, and then probably Castro, and then probably Ho Chi Minh. Or maybe Ho Chi Minh Castro? I don't know. Castro wanted to end the world. Did you guys know that? Castro is fucking insane. Che wasn't a statesman. He was a revolutionary. I'm talking about people who led the countries, not people who were just revolutionaries. Posadas Castro. Literally, though, did you guys know that? Back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, like, JFK and Khrushchev were both, like, trying to not end the world in nuclear hellfire, and meanwhile, like, Castro was, like, leaving voicemails on Khrushchev's phone saying, like, the people of Cuba are ready to give their lives for socialism. Literally, like, Premier Khrushchev, like, give us the order, like, do it, launch the missiles now. Like, that's not a joke. Like, he was like, Castro was literally saying, like, end the world, we're ready, that's not a joke. He was actually, yeah, no human has better embodied that fucking emote than Castro during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Jesus Christ. He was trolling, but he meant it? Yes. He was trolling, but he completely 100% fully meant it. He was fully sincere to that. You're giving way too much credit to JFK. That's true. JFK also wanted to end the world. Khrushchev was probably the dude who was being the most reasonable, maybe, possibly, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. But nobody compares to Castro. Lol, he said Lamau even? Yeah, for sure. JFK was a good president? No. Yeah, he did some good things. He was also fucking insane, I mean, yeah. Man, could I get like quotes on this? Wait, okay, hold on. Castro Wikipedia. I don't know if there's like a specific like quote Cuban Missile Crisis. Hold on. I need to see if there's any bit here where Wikipedia in their usual like disimpassionate tone was like Castro tried to end the world by encouraging Khrushchev to fire the nuclear missiles at the US embargo or the US blockade. Khrushchev wanted to install RMBM nuclear missiles in Cuba to even the power balance. Although conflicted, Castro agreed, believing it would guarantee Cuba's safety and enhance the cause of socialism. Yes! Castro urged Khrushchev should launch a nuclear strike on the US if Cuba were invaded, but Khrushchev was desperate to avoid a nuclear war. Castro was left out of the negotiations, yeah, Castro was left out of the negotiations because he knew he was a fucking madman. They were like, they had a call between Washington and the Kremlin, and meanwhile, like, from, like, Havana, he's trying to wire in, like, screaming into the receiver on the telephone, like, fucking, he's like the fucking military guy from, Iron Giant. Launch the missile now? I mean, didn't Kennedy invade? Yeah, the Kennedy and the CIA basically, like, Kennedy and the CIA did to a bunch of Cuban exiles what the Russians are doing right now to their conscripts. We basically gave them, like, 5 rounds of ammunition and, like, a pistol each, and then, we're like, yeah, go swim to Cuba. It's pretty bad. It was pretty unethical. We kind of just sent them to die. It wasn't great. Yeah, Mansley. Where's the giant, Mansley? Feeling betrayed by Khrushchev, Castro was furious and soon fell ill. Holy fuck! He was so mad that Khrushchev didn't end the world that he got sick. He was so angry about it that it made him ill. Me too. Fuck, that's funny. The idea was they'd establish a beachhead and it would inspire the US to send troops. Yeah, which is pretty fucked, right? Like, hey, bunch of people, go and, like, die with insufficient equipment. Maybe if you die good enough, like, we'll send in reinforcements, and then we don't. Of course we weren't going to. Obviously, if we wanted to invade Cuba, we would have, but, like, the problem is the relationship, like, with Russia, or Soviet Union, a bunch of other stuff. Also, I think Cuba's pretty naturally defensible. What's the difference between France pledging to use nukes if Russia invades the EU? Well, in that case, it would be a nuclear country invading a nuclear country, in which case the use of nuclear weapons is very much on the table. I don't think, wait, when the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, they didn't have missiles, like, established and ready to fire on Cuba, did they? I know they had them on the island, but weren't they, like, months away from them being, like, ready to fire, or am I wrong on that? They did? Okay. We also we weren't threatening to invade Cuba. We were just establishing a blockade to prevent more missiles from making their way into Cuba. All the same, like, we shouldn't have done it. Like, the Cuban Missile Crisis was literally, like, our fucking fault. Like, 100%. We put nukes in Turkey, for fuck's sake. Like, we had nuclear weapons just a couple hundred miles out from Moscow, and then we get mad when they, like, move it over to their ally that's right off the coast of Florida. Like, fucking, like, it's literally just our fault, you know? Like, why the fuck would you do that? It's such stupid dick waving too, because neither country ever developed an effective anti-nuclear, like, deterrent strategy. Like, we never, Star Wars didn't work. We didn't have, like, fucking lasers to shoot them down or some shit. So it didn't matter if you had nukes that were super close. The defense systems would always catch it in time. It would always send a counter salvo. There would never be a way to avoid the end of the world. Is it true Castro slept with 35,000 women, including one of the assassins sent to kill him? Yes and no. He did sleep with an assassin sent to kill him. He did not sleep with 35,000 women. There was not time to run a country and be a revolutionary and sleep with that many women. The God's honest truth is that when it comes to people like that, okay, they don't even fuck that much. You know what they actually do? They spend their entire life dedicating themselves to a cause, and then the few times they do have time to fuck a chick, they do it so good that the legend spreads, okay? That's what they do. They're constantly in the company of beautiful women, but the man's got to be busy. Yeah, there's a logistical problem. So the real trick is just, you just sort of embody the passion of your political ideology as you fuck the women that you do fuck, and then they think like, oh my god, like, my holes are ruined. I'll never be satisfied with another man. This guy must get around constantly. But in reality, like all socialist leaders, Castro was an autistic soft boy who spent his days sort of in a tent, playing with model trains and organizing the economy of Cuba. He's just like us. I don't know about all that, really. Don't worry about it. Genghis Khan was different. Yeah, but Genghis Khan didn't really, like, run his empire, did he? He was, like, a military commander for the most part. He just, like, appointed ministers to manage stuff. Like, he wasn't a manager, you know? Castro managed. Give me the context on the assassin story. It's literally just that. There was just an assassin who was sent to kill him. And they had to get to know each other. Like, and then he seduced her and they fucked. There's, like, stories on it. You can look it up. Why do you look like you need a hug? Do I look like I need a hug? I am tired, but I actually dislike hugs when I'm tired. Like, being tired makes me less likely to want a hug. It's increasingly irritating. Stop stun locking, get to the content now. Hey, at least this is like politically relevant stun locking, okay? Jesus. 5 billion years ago, Confucianism got invented, and now every single socialist leader in Asia has to have, like, portraits of him worshipped on walls. Super fucked up. I can't. I hate history. I hate the weight of dead men's hands and the chains that connect us, binding me to the past. Take me out. Pull me out of this. Happens all the time in the Middle East. Yeah, but I was talking about socialist leaders. Did they do that with Sankara? I'm stupid. How does this picture relate to Confucius? Confucianism. Am I mistaking this for Taoism? Isn't Confucianism in large part about, like, giving spiritual importance to reverence to the leader? Like, the idea is that, like, Confucianism is about everything in harmony, everything has its place. If you, like, sort of push against the natural order and structure of human society, yeah, it's like harmony, you know? But harmony is often about not questioning your betters. Genghis Khan was actually an excellent administrator. Really? The reason the Mongolian Empire collapsed was because he died young. His son was incompetent at leading. He was a conqueror because he was an excellent administrator. Oh, that's dope. Okay, never mind. We're a Genghis Khan stan. We're now also a moral relativist. So the fact that he raped like 1 billion women is okay now, because back then they wouldn't have thought it was bad. Confucianism. System of thought, ancient China, tradition, philosophy, religion, humanistic or rationalist religion, a way of governing or simply a way of life, cultural values, with a particular emphasis on the importance of the family and social harmony rather than an otherworldly source of spiritual values. The core of Confucianism is humanistic. The secular is sacred. Well, that sounds cool. Confucian thought focuses on the cultivation of virtue in a morally organized world. Humans are fundamentally good. It's the virtue form of heaven. Upholding of righteousness, the moral distribution, or the moral disposition to do good. Was I thinking of Taoism then? When I was thinking of like a pseudo religion that highly valued like an adherence to social order? Or is that also a part of this? Maybe legalism? I think legalism is part of Confucianism as well. Chinese legalism properly? Okay. Let's just cap this off by assuming that I'm racist and don't know what I'm talking about.